Hey, this is Brian, and welcome to Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops. Today, we have a real treat for you. Amanda Howard. Her company has sold over 8,000 properties and over $2 billion in sales. Amanda, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Amanda, tell us, where does your story start? And give us a little information about you.
All right. Well, I was raised in Jupiter, Florida,
Okay.
And then I moved here in 2003. What I did that was a little bit unheard of is I did absolutely no research deciding to make this move here.
Yeah.
I just had two babies.
Okay.
And I think I was going through a little postpartum depression, and I was just looking to find myself again. And my husband is just an amazing pillar of support for me. And so he said, honey, I just want you to be happy. I want you to go where you're going to feel yourself again. Mm-hmm. And so my parents took a transfer here to Huntsville, and we came to visit them a few times, and I just fell in love. I had a romantic notion that we were going to take the kids on hikes every weekend, walks around the square. They'd have Southern accents. None of that's really happened, but it's all right because they love it. They've now raised here. My girls are 21 and 22, and the business that I created here with the support of everyone really it's just been really outstanding. And I don't think that I could have done it anywhere else. I think it was a God thing that I was sent here, and then I've just been following my path. But I guess once I got here, I know when we were sat down, Jessica said, share a little bit of that personal story.
Yeah.
And what a lot of my agents or the people that I mentor and coach, what they really are impressed with, I think the most, is that I did move here not knowing anyone except for my parents, who are introverts. They're very into their church, but that's about it. They just, they stay to themselves. They're out no one's crossroads. And so I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the streets. I didn't know people. And I moved here without a plan, a savings, anything. I literally came to my parents' house for Christmas in 2003 with a U-Haul and the two babies. And they were thrilled because I moved into their house with them, my husband and I, the four of us, in their little 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom house and out no one's crossroads. And then I started door knocking and pulling the girls in the wagon behind me because I got my license in January right away.
Okay.
And that's really been my start. I was Rookie of the Year the first year and didn't have a babysitter until the end of the year.
Wow. And that is a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, this community is greatly benefited from you trusting God and making that move and bringing your family up here because, not only do you have the team that you have, but I've met so many people. Maybe they've worked with you in the past or future, and I ask them, I'm like, they all love you.
Oh.
Everybody, people move, things change, careers change. And I've got personal friends that have worked for you, then you don't know who they are, but it's like, hey, what do you think? And they're like, man, she was always good to me. She was always honest. She was always straightforward. And, whatever they're doing now, maybe they couldn't handle this part, real estate, maybe they did something different, but that shows a lot of your character and your culture, right, that you build here. So teach us, how did you build that? How the culture, the team, and what you have?
Well, I think it first starts with following your passion and staying true to yourself. And of course, just as we all evolve and we all are searching for ourselves at different times of our lives, and that changes with time. But my first thing that in the core of it is I'm always as honest and transparent as possible because I have a terrible memory and I certainly don't want to. That just seems, it makes me start sweating just thinking about having to come up with an idea or a lie and then have to remember it later. Yeah. Just be yourself and just be honest and be transparent all the time and it works for you. And then for my business, what I did do a little bit different as I started and was wanting to create my business and looking at who's my ideal client is I just first decided I needed to figure out what is the concern or the problem, and I need to solve it. So whatever that person is looking for, I will be their solution. And so since we only focus on solutions, and that's one of the core values that we've kind of brought everyone up on is be solution oriented, always care for the customer. We're there to serve and that's it. Then it helps because you come into that relationship with that consumer and that family who becomes your family as well. where you're just hearing them. You truly are hearing what's going on and what's the reason why they're selling, or what's the reason why they're buying, and why are they making this life transition, so that we can help them the best way that we can.
Right. Awesome. So we could talk about business all day.
Right,
all right.
Right.
But one thing that's really cool, when I look at your social media platforms, I see family, and I see those times that maybe you're on a vacation with your husband, or you're spending time with your kids, and you're real on there. And, it's not, I'm Amanda Howe. You don't, you're at that level. And
I tested it out for a little while.
Okay.
I tested this, only wearing the suits all the time.
Yeah.
And eventually it wasn't me.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that. Your family. How do you make that real? Because that's one reason that, you said you came in, we've communicated on social media for years.
Yeah.
And it's just because I feel like you're an approachable person, and you're not, I'm so-and-so. So, what led you to put the family out there and show that side? How?
When I realized that, again, to stay true and authentic to yourself, I just wasn't having fun being just focusing on me and only showing myself in the suit in the professional world and homes. That was boring. To me, it was boring. I didn't want to watch myself. So,
right.
This was not me, and it wasn't fun. And if you're not having fun, what's the point? Like Jeffrey Gitomer says that in his top 10 and a half things of being successful.
Exactly.
And that was one that resonated with me. If I'm not having fun, then I'm not going to do this. We're going to change something. And one of my business coaches, actually my first business coach I ever hired, that I was able to retain for more than 2 months,
right,
to put up with me. I'm a strong-willed person.
Good.
He taught me that this is your sandbox. You get to make the rules. And there was one day where I got so mad at my whole team and my husband, who was also part of my team at that time, and I walked out. I quit. I said, you know what? Screw you all. I'm going to go start up my own business somewhere else. You guys enjoy. You take this one and leave.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find me for about 3 hours because I also wouldn't answer my phone.
Yeah.
And when my business coach finally got me to answer my phone, and I was done crying and being mad and just letting out my frustrations of all the things that felt like everything. I was giving all I could, and they still wanted more. Everybody was taking so much from me. He told me, you're burnt out. And the reason you're burnt out is because you lost your balance and you lost your fun. You're not having fun. This is your sandbox, Amanda. You make the rules. And I it's my sandbox. I do make the rules. Yeah. And it was just a mind shift. Yeah. And I needed that little kick in the pants at that moment.
I love that story because we've all been there, and when I used to have different businesses or look at it, and I'm like, you know what, I wish that I had the business coach that would have came to me, because now we do have our own sandbox. We're creating things that, didn't exist before. But when you got that, it's your own sandbox, what was some of the first things that you addressed? Was it, did you go back to your team, or how did you transition and build your sandbox? Because it's a very attractive sandbox now, right? I mean, it's a cool sandbox.
Thanks.
So,
well, what we first did was my husband and I, we were both strong personalities. We follow personality profiles. I teach personality profiling. And so we knew that we both were very strong personalities in two opposite spectrums of the graph. And while he was really good at being behind the scenes, he's great at operations, he's IT, has tons of all designations behind his name. I was more of I had a visionary. I'm a little more, artsy, solution oriented, creative. I'm the people person. I would go out there and then they would come back and go, how in the world did you do that? Or that's a crazy idea, but it actually worked. It was him telling me what I couldn't do, but then also me telling him what he should be doing in the operations. So the first thing was that business coach said, because we are so strong, you need to say he gets 51% decisions in operations. She gets 51% decisions in sales. And then if you are really passionate about it and you can't come up to an agreement or just let it go, then I divert to 2% decision making and you have to call me. And that it only, I think, took 2 phone calls. Yeah. And then Travis realized that I was right on those 2, because it was usually sales things. And he was just so sure that I was making the wrong decision, but it really ended up being the right decision. Right. And then on operations, I was totally fine with giving it to him. I don't like that side at all. Right.
I got you. So you got back and you and Travis had your 51 and 51 and your assigned duties, and the business coach said, hey, if y'all can't get together, I can
That's right. And I forgot to go to the team side. Then the team side, we were still figuring out what the tasks were. I was really training everyone on everything, start to finish, A through Z, what you do in real estate. And that's a lot. And it's a lot more than people realize. That's why people get in real estate. They're like, it looks so fun. Yeah. And that's what we do on purpose. We purposely want to make it look fun and easy. We're ducks. Our feet are paddling like crazy under the water. But right. If you're doing it right, you should be looking like you're just gliding on the top just fine. But we are behind the scenes doing 178 different items, because it is in one transaction, it's 178 items that I've broken it down to being that we have to do in order to make sure we don't drop the ball somewhere. Yeah. And so as we're doing that, that's when I had that shift of it's my sandbox, I make the rules. We started focusing on specializations. So just like a doctor or an attorney starts in a general practice and then they get really good, then they're going to be a specialist. And when you are really sick, let's say it's a doctor or a surgeon, you're going to go see the general doctor when I've got a cough or a sniffles. Right. But if I have cancer, if I need something serious, I'm going to the specialist. Right. And that's what we became known as a specialist. And I launched my company because I was kicked out of my office, my previous office. So I went out there kind of going, God, please don't, you push me out of the nest, don't let us fall. And that specialization is when it also was that turning point of me having my breakdown, and all of these things happened all at one time in November of 2009. And then that's when we opened the business of being more of specialists, and our business grew. All of my mentors said, you're going to have a decrease in business of 30% because you're a no name. Nobody in the community knows you. This is what happens in real estate when you start off on your own. And for us, we had a 30% increase that first year and continued to have a nice climb for the 10 years following.
Here at Smith Financial Services, we take care of small business owners, 1099 contract workers, and their families. We know insurance can be rough if you're a small business owner, so we are here to make things easy. Visit our website, smithfinancial.services, to learn more.
Did you say you got kicked out of another office, as like let go, fired, told to leave? And that's a lot of people that I talk to that have made it to a certain level. Mm-hmm. They've been fired a few times. They're kicked out of the nest, right? And you went from expecting 30% decrease to a 30% increase.
Yes.
Wow. That's amazing. When I'm so impressed right now, I'm a little bump fuzzled coming up with a word. I mean, that is amazing. So, you gotta have some cool stories or experiences now from 2009 to this year. What are some things that you've gotten to do that you're kind of like, wow, I'm here, or what? Give us a story of something cool.
Well, I think for me, I didn't get the opportunity to go to college. My parents are pastors, and my mom was a teacher, and I was homeschooled half of my school years. I was in and out of schools, and we were moving around a little bit every several years because my dad being in seminary. Yeah. And so sorry, I lost my train of thought where I was going with it, but
as far an experience that you've gotten to have since 2009, something
was really cool. Thank you for
saying that. You're good.
Is that I was named Woman of Influence in the mortgage industry and was invited to speak on stage at a headlining group where there was Tony Robbins was there, Barbara Corcoran was there. They were the headliners, but I still had a stage, small stage on the side where I got to also share. Right. And that was huge for me. They asked me to write an article. That article was published. It was about breaking glass ceilings and how I was treated moving from South Florida to the South here, which wasn't always nice. Got in a lot of trouble here locally because the people who did treat me poorly were very offended by me publishing that. But they were called to the floor, and I wasn't going to back down on that. So I let that continue to go out. And then the other cool thing was once I did get to connect with Barbara Corcoran, she started endorsing me. And then my first trip to New York was flying out there to see her. Yeah. And I've flown out now 3 times to meet with Barbara Corcoran and shoot some commercials with her and be endorsed by her. And she's a really fantastic lady. She's on Shark Tank.
Of course, yes. I know who she is.
And she had an amazing real estate company that she built an entire empire and sold it for a I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Yeah.
money even back then. And she's a powerhouse of a lady. So it was neat meeting Tony Robbins. Oh, I taught Tony Robbins what jazz hands are.
Okay.
He
All
didn't
right.
know that.
Well, you'll have to teach me too. So sorry. You'll have
So
to
we've
teach.
got a hilarious picture of
Okay.
us where we're both doing this and
Okay.
he's laughing and I'm laughing, but it's
Right.
because he does this on stage all the time.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And so when we stand up, we take a picture because we're backstage and we get to meet the speakers.
Of course.
And he says, so what do you want to do? Do you want my arm around you? Do you want to just, it's professional? And that's what most people were doing, professional.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, let's do your jazz hands. And I said, I do this. He goes, what's jazz hands? And I went, you do it all the time.
Okay, yeah. I
This.
got you.
And then of course he's laughing. He's like,
Yeah.
okay.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
So I guess my naivety and goofiness kind of helped me access many different people in different ways that they see I'm not pretentious.
Yeah.
I'm not uptight, and I am who I am. I'm just goofy and
And have
small
fun.
time, and
Yeah.
I like to have fun while
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah.
like, if they like me, they like me. If they don't, I'll be sad for a minute, but we'll get past it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in your world and getting to, I don't know if you would like to say celebrity status, but people know who you are. And there's going to be people who have their opinions and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And
And they like to share them.
They do, don't they?
I've been surprised at a few of them. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I would not have told somebody that.
Right.
All right,
Right.
you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
your opinion.
Yeah. And it takes a certain level of confidence to be able to handle that. Right. I mean, but it's still like I tell people, everybody that I get to talk to in here, regardless of their economic status or what they've done in their life, they're still a human. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still people. We're
Right.
still hanging out. We're talking. We want to have a good burger and hang out with friends and take cool trips. And, most of them want to have a burger. Some of them are vegetarians, but, those things. But I've been looking at your tattoo here. Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm a fan. All right. But give us a little backstory. How long have you had that?
It's very recent. That was
Okay.
also one of my things where, one, growing up in a very, very religious family,
Mm-hmm.
they were anti any tattoos at all.
My dad was a preacher as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first time I got one, I had to hide it for a while. And my mom brought that story up the other day. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Well, so its first was that. And
Okay.
then, as I said, I didn't have that opportunity to go to college. So I really just wanted to fight for everything that I could and
Right.
earn the respect that I felt I deserved. But I knew I just needed to put in some extra time. And I didn't want to lose business over something as simple as having a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted it since a teenager. I've been thinking about it. I've dreamt about it. I knew what I wanted. But I waited all the way until the point of this year, or it was actually this last year when I started it right
Okay.
after my birthday.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I'm 47. I don't give a
Yeah. Yeah.
blip anymore
Right.
about what everybody thinks of me. And
Right.
if they don't want to do business with me just because I have a tattoo, then that's unfortunate for them
Mhm.
because I'm really good at what I do. And so are all the people that work with me and how we train.
Yeah.
So I did that. I moved forward, and this has a lot of special meaning to me.
Yes.
And I'll be finishing it up actually this Friday. There's just a little bit of shading that has to happen
Okay.
in the back, but
It's beautiful.
Thank
It's
you.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
It's beautiful work.
Yeah.
I love it. And I will say that, my grandma's still alive, thank God. And her only request is that please be able to cover up everything with a long sleeve shirt. When you go to church, you can hide all your ink. And I said, yes, ma'am. So I still abide by her rules,
that's sweet.
We try
Yes.
to keep it where I can cover.
My parents actually love it. They're like, that's actually very beautiful. And my dad
Yeah.
wrote a book about Goliath, and he really thinks I did it for a different reason, but it's all right. I was like, I have my own reasons. That's how I see myself.
And that's what art's for, right? I mean,
Exactly.
everybody has their interpretation and it can mean different things to different people. So, and you can share what you feel or you want to, but what's in the future for you? Are you looking at maybe doing something more different? And because looking at it from the outside, it's like, okay, real estate, international, and then she's with Barbara, and then she's jazz hands with Tony, and then she's on stage, and then like, what does the future maybe look like for you?
I see expansion.
Okay.
Because my husband has asked me that a couple times over the last few years of what do you want to do now? We've achieved the goals that we set out to do. We're now empty nesters. We have a beautiful grandson. We want to spend more time on the water, and that's we both came from South Florida, Jupiter, and then so we want to get back to spending more time together on the water and enjoying our lives that we've built. And so we plan to continue to do that, but I also still at the same time feel too young to retire, and so does he. He can't sit still. Even worse than me. He can't sit still. So, and we just have this entrepreneurial spirit, and we've started multiple companies. We own about somewhere. I forget if it's 5 or 7 now.
I got you.
But we just love that, and we love supporting people and growing with people who've been within our company. So we have long tenureship with many agents. So we have at least a dozen people who've been with us now over 9 years.
Wow.
And we plan to continue to keep growing and building businesses with them. Wherever their passions lie, we want to support them and then show them how it's done and build together.
Wow.
Step into the future with Power Loops, the king of off-grid power, where our proprietary system is changing the game of energy. This isn't just power, it's freedom. The freedom to live, work, and play anywhere, powered by our innovative technology that taps into the Earth's natural energy. Our system is designed for efficiency, durability, and sustainability, ensuring that you have reliable power 365 days a year without harming the planet. Whether you're traveling in the RV, the remote wilderness, or just opting out of traditional power grids, Power Loops provides the ultimate solution. Join us in leading the charge towards a cleaner, greener, and more empowered world. Power Loops, the king of off-grid energy.
9 years? That's a long time, and especially in the real estate industry, right?
Yes, correct.
I mean, because
the average agent moves every year.
That's what I thought. Right. I mean, I didn't know the year, but wow. So one common theme that I've listened to you is you bring up in your parents and your faith and how that's kind of brought you here. And I think, with our theme of the show being faith, family, fitness, and finance, and obviously you're in great shape, so fitness is important to you as well, right?
Absolutely. For me, it helps me mentally to stay strong, and it's much, better when you're frustrated to go do several push-ups and pull-ups rather than go down a bottle of wine. But so I do my best to keep that balance. I mean, I will have some wine. I do enjoy that, but I absolutely do love fitness, and it's something that it shows you have to be strict with yourself mentally, physically. It's not easy. People think, gosh, you just must love it. I do love it, but I certainly do love sleeping in also. And I have a lot to accomplish. So I do have to get up at 5 or 5:15, whatever it is, depending on the thing that I'm going to do in order to fit it all in. But it's important enough to me that I want to keep doing it. I want to keep having fun with my grandboy. And just, be able to run around, play ball with him, taking him out on the boat. And where I see other people my age, now it does seem like our generations have gotten healthier.
Yes.
And so I do love seeing that women around my age, which is around 50, that we're still active and spry and act. But my family, my parents, my aunts, I saw them, looking back at pictures of when they were turning 50. And I'm like, goodness, it was just different then. And I wish that they had that feeling that I do of just happiness and health and vivaciousness. I can just do so much more and share the love and the energy. And it all comes down to keeping your body moving.
Yeah.
It helps mentally and physically.
Big time, right? And I understand that completely. And I've, with my wife, and I know you've seen pictures and her, and she's been on stage in bodybuilding shows, and she's played collegiate sports and done different things. And
very impressive.
That's important to us. And even more so, like for your kids and then your grandkids, and my boys are 8 and 6, and when I look at them, I'm like, golly, these guys are strong. But they're like, well, Dad, I see you doing pull-ups. I see you doing that stuff. So hopefully we can change that,
Absolutely.
for the future, for our legacy, So, but when it comes to everything that we've talked about today, and this has been an enjoyable conversation. You are the first person to stump me in some of the things. You went from 30% going this to 30. I'm like, wait, that doesn't happen. Maybe even, but you jumped when you made that transition. And that's another testament to who you are. But you've told us some cool stories. You've told us some opportunities. And when it comes to the finance side, the amount of people that you've been able to help to keep employed, to show how to build their own business and maybe go expand or do new things. Have you been able to keep track of how many people have worked with?
I have not sat down and done that, but I've heard from several business owners or some of my past coaching clients that have come back to me and let me know how much I've contributed to them or how much their business grew. One of the top teams that I helped over in Ohio, she had 600% growth in 1 year by coaching with me.
Yeah.
And I'm still blown away by that because she's doing an incredible job. Now she's speaking on stage. She has her own podcast. She's doing phenomenal things. Beautiful. And she's got 2 cute little 3-year-old twins. She's younger, but I just love that she started with so much more knowledge by starting with a coach young. And I love that. And I do love seeing and hearing from our local business owners and friends who are like, did you know that you had this kind of impact? Or did you know that you helped me here? Which I didn't, because I was just doing what I felt was right. But I love hearing the stories, and I do appreciate it when people share. It's very humbling, and it makes me feel like, all right, I was doing what I was meant to do.
Right. So as I told you I wouldn't keep you long, and all of our schedules are busy, but is there something that do you have a quote? Is there something that you could encourage? Maybe somebody's looking at, hey, I want to be Amanda Howard one day. Maybe they look up, or something that you could share that just kind of encourage, or maybe tell them, because it's not easy living this life. It's not easy building that brand and moving to Huntsville without knowing street names or Owens Crossroads there, in the 1,600 square foot house and what you've been able to build. So what's something that you could share? And if you want to look in that camera and just maybe enlighten somebody.
I wish I knew a quote because I don't have that memory thing. I can't remember. But I do know that if you have the tenacity to stick to it, and you know that if you're going to take a gamble on anything in life, why not take a gamble on yourself? Because you are the one thing that you can control. And that means you get to control your destiny, the outcome, and the way that you're going to show up every day. And that's what I want to teach my kids and all of our agents and all the people that I can come in contact with, so that they can be their best selves.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Amanda, thank you so much for being here today.
It's so great to be on here with you, Brian. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for watching Podcast on Wheels.